Welcome everybody to a very special event. We're in Magdala in Israel. This site was excavated by the Legionnaires of Christ when they wanted just a few years ago to build a guest house here. And they started digging and they found the ancient Magdala, Migdal. When we talk about in the New Testament, Mary Magdalene, she was from here. And Father Kelly, who is the guide here and supervisor, he's going to join us in a few minutes and give us a little historical and archaeological survey of what we see here. But this is an incredible place. This is the only place other than the Arch of Titus in Rome that we found a depiction of the menorah in the temple. So this stone here that was found here probably served as the shulchan, as the table that the Torah was read on. And on the side of it, there's a depiction of the menorah. You can see right here. See this? This was the only time, other than the Arch of Titus, that we can tell what is the menorah look like. Now, it's also very special because the menorah at the Arch of Titus is depicted in a very sad circumstances. It's where it shows the victory of the Roman Empire over Judea. And you see the Jews who were now captive carrying their own holy vessels into Rome. So it was a victory over the God of the Jews. So it's amazing what just happened here, because I think God showed us right now that he was not defeated, right? And he was right here from the beginning, because I'm just going to tell you how this thing came all about. Two members of the synagogue asked me if I would lead a trip to Israel. We normally take interfaith groups in February, and this is November. So, and Stephen Meshover called me within a day of each other. Stephen called me one day and Ellen called me the next day. So I thought, all right, this is something here. I'm going to have to take the trip. And so we organized the trip. And according to the schedule, we were going to be here tonight. And then we realized it was Kristallnacht. And the synagogue asked, are we going to do anything, any program? And I said, well, we're going to be in Magdala, so we can just do it from there. And now, as we're preparing to do this, we have a group from Connecticut with Rabbi Stephen Schulman. Can you raise your hand? And he has a group of survivors, of Holocaust survivors.
Wow.
And they just joined us. And we know each other from the Rabbinical Assembly. And on top of it, Marcia Millman. Our congregation knows Marcia very well. Her husband, Charlie, was an angel. And after he passed away, she moved to Connecticut to be with her daughter. And then they both moved to Florida. And she's on this trip. So if you don't believe in Hashgacha Elyona, Hashgacha Pratit, the providence, I'm sorry for you. So here we are, and Father Kelly is joining us now. So what we want to do, I'm going to introduce what I feel is very important to do here tonight. This synagogue was clearly destroyed in the first century, and it by the excavation, and I hope Father Kelly will elaborate on it. It shows that they were trying to prevent the attack. They blocked their doors. Of course, it didn't help, but this was a flourishing village. This is where they salted the fish from the Sea of Galilee and sent it to Rome. So this was a delicacy. So they were very affluent, and they had ritual bath, the mikvaot, and you could tell that they had really good life. Pretty much the life that Jews had in Germany in the 30s. But things started crumbling. And tonight, Kristallnacht, the night of the broken glass, is about warning signs. You know, today is the midterm election well, yesterday and today we're still counting the votes. The midterm election in the United States. Israel just had its own elections, and we're all at the point where we need some warning signs that we shouldn't take conflict to a different level. And it's incredible that we're here because the warning signs, the Kristallnacht was the warning sign that we were supposed to get. And many people did get that sign and left or did something else, but many didn't, and unfortunately perished in the Holocaust. But when we talk about destruction in the Jewish context, we have two dates, just like we commemorate the Holocaust with two dates, not just the Holocaust memorial date. We do the Kristallnacht, which is the harbinger to the Holocaust. So in the Jewish tradition, we commemorate the 17th of Tammuz, which is 3 weeks before the 9th of Av, the destruction of the temple. And actually, if you look at it from a sheer numbers perspective, today is also 9/11, and Tisha B'Av, it's November 9th, and then the Tisha B'Av in the destruction of the temple is also 9/11. It's the 9th day of the 11th month on the Jewish calendar. So it could be coincidence, but there's something here that is telling us there's warning coming. And the 17th of Tammuz, 3 weeks before the destruction of the temple, tells us that you have to watch the wall, because once the border is breached, then the destruction is coming. So we're here at the site of a destruction, but again, as we say with the Holocaust and our destruction, it also, there is tkuma. There's Holocaust, Shoah, utkuma. In Hebrew, we say it together. There's destruction, but there is going to be rebuilding. And the Talmud tells us that the rebuilding is going to happen on the same date of the destruction and the same place. So we're looking at a destroyed site, but let's look at also the hope that we can have for rebuilding. And 2 years ago, we had Father Kelly allowed us to have a service here after 2,000 years in this synagogue, which was Jewish, Christian, and Muslim. And today, after COVID, we're here back, and look at what God arranged for us. We just went that way and God helped us. So let's look at this way. And I'm going to ask Father Kelly to give us a little presentation about the synagogue. Father Kelly is from the Legionnaires of Christ, and the organization that was just trying to create a guest house here. And look at what God gave you and us, everybody. So, Father Kelly?
And we move the computer so we can see.
Sure. You can hold the computer if you want. Or I can walk with you.
Hello,
So
everybody.
you don't have to hold.
Welcome to Magdala. Welcome all of you to Magdala. And welcome all of you on our live stream to Magdala. We're very happy that you're here with us tonight. And I think we will definitely see maybe some signs of the ending of a period of life here, but we're also witnessing today, since we have these excavations going 2009, a period of rediscovery and building relationships that are very promising. They're very healthy right now and very promising for future development as we go forward. So I'm delighted that you are here, honored and humbled and privileged to be part of this. So now, let me show you a little bit what we have here. I don't think you need to see me. You have enough of me. So I want to show you around the synagogue. I can move pretty freely here, can I?
Hold it for you.
Yeah, okay, it's fine. Okay, so I let you, and you know how to steer it then. So basically, Rabbi Gadi, why don't you just scope around and show them the whole design of the synagogue. So we're looking here at 3 different levels of seating. And we actually have the 3 occupied here. We have one lone warrior here in the inside row. And then we have a number here on the second row of seats. And then we have a number on the outer row of seats. And even some are sitting on the wall against all archaeological respect, but that's okay. Normally, we don't have people here in the synagogue, inside the synagogue, for 2 reasons. For damage to, no, you're okay. No.
We also always try to get minions. It's okay. You're not the only one. It's been going on for 2,000 years.
No, but we try to keep people out of the synagogue for 2 reasons. One, an old structure like this needs to be properly prepared to receive guests inside it.
Yeah.
And this is not prepared yet. So we're like pushing it a little bit here. And the second thing
now it's a reconstructionist synagogue.
Well, actually, it should be a little bit redeveloped, but it's also very beautiful to keep it in its original form that we have discovered it. There's a great value in that because it marks a time, and times are precious. And even if sad times happen, we remember the passing of our relatives, of our parents, of others, and obviously a very tragic thing like Kristallnacht and also obviously the Holocaust. These are very precious memories, but not to forget. Also, we remember the sad times. We remember when we had an operation, when we lost our parents, when we lost other friends and people, and when bad things happened, 9/11, for example. I was in New York at that time. I knew a lot of people in the Twin Towers. I used to hear confessions in the Twin Towers in New York, But at the same time, 9/11 has also, there's so many things to say about it, but it has also a redemptive side to it.
Right.
And one of our principles of faith is that we believe that God is more powerful than evil, and that he is the redemptive God, and he can bring amazing good to happen in people's hearts, even in the occasion of evil. And that's part of our faith. And that we learn the very biggest case of that, that's most dramatic and has been so celebrated historically, is Joseph in Egypt. A horrible case of fraternal tensions and evil actions becoming part of God's plan of salvation for his people. So good. Well, let's just do more facts here. Let's walk around and we see the frescoes and the mosaics. So we're actually close to the frescoes over here, Rabbi Gadi. If you come over, are we good with the connection?
Yes.
We don't want to lose.
We're good.
Connection.
We're good.
So why don't you show them the frescoes here? Frescoes are painted walls that have been painted when the plaster was still fresh. And these have been somewhat restored by the Israeli Antiquities Authority. So they were removed and replaced here again. And I actually prefer the colors of the way we found them originally, because we fell in love with those colors, and they've been touched up a little bit, but they haven't gained in brightness. It's just they probably brought out some aspects that weren't visible when they were in their heyday and when we found them as well.
But that means it was an affluent place.
Yes, we can come to that conclusion for sure. If you turn behind you, there's another piece across from here. And I understood that there was a key relationship, the key relationship, the Greek letter in the relationship of the designs on both sides. And I do not know enough to say about that. While you're here, let's peep in here, Gadi. And here you see a mosaic floor. This is about 4 square meters. A little over, how would that be? One, so by 4 square meters is enough. So there's a special design on this mosaic here that's different than the other designs we have. And we've actually copied that in our new building, Duke and Alton. And this is a precious space because maybe this was a place for keeping the scrolls. Maybe it was a
That's the Aron Kodesh.
maybe, or also a
Perhaps.
or a Geniza.
The
Sometimes we
Geniza,
use
maybe.
this word also.
Yeah.
So it's not
Where
clear.
scrolls are no longer usable, you put it, you bury it, you don't destroy it.
Or conservative.
Oh,
So there
conservative.
are 2 stones here that are, who knows if they were there when this was in full use. There are obviously some alterations possible maybe in that period as well. So, okay. You can
Yeah, louder, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm just conscious of the computer, but we also have a live audience. In the
Don't be
in the COVID
bashful.
period, we were always used to just a virtual audience. So it's great to have the live audience back. You're really showing my shoes and legs here very well. So you can show them other parts here. Now, where you're gone down very deep here, just give me the computer for a second, Gadi. Just stay
Okay.
there. And now if you watch where Rabbi Gadi is standing, you see there's a dig there. And this dig was very important because what it did was it showed us, it was a test to see if there's anything at further levels down. Now, we do know that there was something, but it wasn't very significant like we have. So the archaeologists called it a day and said, we don't need to excavate further. There's also another cut on the other side over there in the center, just behind the tall pillar, there to the right of it. And so there was a third cut, I think, as well. And this way we ascertained that there wasn't more underneath. So we basically have a 1st century structure that's closed down before temple destruction. And that's very important. We'll get back to that.
How do you know that this was before pre-temple destruction?
There are 2 major elements to help us to discern the dating of an archaeological discovery. And one of them is ceramics. And the other one are coins. So you'd say the coins should be more
Ceramic and
coins.
coins.
Now, coins are dated. Like the coin we have showcased over here, just a picture of it and enlarged, is from the year 29. And that coin we found in the alley just south of the synagogue here. And that coin has written on it, on one side, Tiberias, for the city of Tiberias. And on the other side, it has written on it, Herodu Tetrarchu. All 3 words are written in Greek, both Tiberias and the name of Herod the Tetrarch, who was Herod Antipas, who was the son of Herod the Great. And he had declared Tiberias capital of Galilee in the year 19. And this coin that we have shown over here is from the year 29. So 10 years after Tiberias was capital of Galilee. So that's significant. And we found about 3,000 coins in all of the sites. And in here we have a number of coins which we found under that mosaic. We need to go and show them the mosaic.
Of course.
And can we just show them, if you stand for a second here, 2 or 3 of you, because you're blocking a fresco behind you. Sure. You're keeping the fresco very fresh.
Please rise.
Okay, so you see the fresco here, Rabbi Gadi?
Feels like a real synagogue. I just said, please rise.
So here you see different colors. And this piece was also restored, you know. And there's another piece at the, why don't you here the two, you just let me see through over here. There's another piece at the end here on the piece, so that's here on the western side of the synagogue.
Yeah. You mean not to sit next with your back to it?
No, they're okay.
It's all right.
I just want to show you the other piece that's
Okay.
here. There's a big piece here.
Yeah.
Since we're over here in this area.
Mhm.
And there are no other colors here. This is the first time we have these red and blue in archaeology. It's the longest way.
So this is the first time you found this color.
This is red and blue.
It's like turquoise.
Yeah, I'm not going to get an expert on this. And maybe just different doctors on the colors of our mosaics. And I think the festival And we found 27 different colors.
How many colors?
27
27
different colors.
different colors.
I find it hard to I haven't studied her doctorate, but it's very interesting. There's also another little piece of fresco here on the north
yeah,
side of that wall there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I showed it to them.
Okay. And then we won't walk on the mosaic.
No,
So actually this mosaic is,
it can be just a little louder, maybe.
yes, sure.
Yeah.
So here we have a mosaic pattern. If anybody has heart condition, they should take their medicine before seeing the design. There seems to be a problematic. We're looking at the mosaic design, which is problematic. And if anybody has a heart condition, they should take their medicine first for their heart. But this mosaic is has a very interesting history, and it's in every single room of every palace in Pompeii. And it originates in India, and it obviously spread through the Persian Empire and into the Roman Empire, and it was standard high society decoration of private and public spaces. So we have that here in Magdala. We also have a very beautiful rosette. And one comment that has been made recently by some archaeologists trying to understand our archaeology, they're saying that this doesn't have the level that the archaeology has, this mosaic has in Herod's Western Palace in Masada or in Pompeii. The same designs, but not necessarily the same level of workmanship. So it's understood that Herod brought quality workmanship here to do his palaces. I'm not sure if you appreciate Herod the Great. He doesn't have a good rap among Christians, with good reason, but he was also very difficult in his very own family. And but he also was an incredibly astute and clever strategic thinking, political and economic genius. And to develop the port of Caesarea was an incredible endeavor. Also his political skills to get on the right side of Augustus the emperor after being on the wrong side in the Civil War. You know, so the guy was a major genius. So it's understood that he brought all of this art and engineering for the aqueducts, like in Caesarea, and his palaces, his fortresses, and the temple in Jerusalem was the most beautiful temple in the Roman Empire. And I understand that's the way it was appreciated. But that these mosaics here are the first local produced mosaics in the same styles, but in terms of the craftsmanship, it doesn't have the expertise of the great artists of the genre, but they're locally produced, which gives them also another very special value. Because if they're produced locally, then they're very special.
What do you think the wheel is symbolized? The circle of life?
Yeah, well, it's an 8-piece rosette.
8-piece.
So I'm not rushing to give it major meaning, but we have two others before this. One is in Herod's Western Palace in Masada, and there's one in the high priest's house in Jerusalem. And the third one in poor little Galilee. So you have to say, what's going on in poor little Galilee? Is it the poor little Galilee we had presumed of fishers and farmers? Well, actually, they're exporting fish into the Roman Empire. And there was a major Italian scholar here, an incredibly learned man, Monsignor Pier Francesco Fumagalli. And he is the director of the Ambrosian Academy in Milan. And two things about this. One comment he made about 4 or 5 years ago, and we were standing just outside the synagogue over there, and he was looking over to the Franciscan property, which is maybe 300-400 yards and more distant. I'm not sure the exact measurement. We should do that sometime, measure that. But he looked across there and said, gosh, he said, this is a quarter the size of Mediolanum, which was the Latin name of Milano back in the day. And he was fascinated by the thought that this would be so extensive as an urban development in that time. And this new comment he made, he had come for a wedding of an Israeli family that he's very good friends, and he came here a couple of months ago, and he told me about a book he was reading recently by a contemporary of Emperor Nero. He was obviously reading in Latin. That's no problem for him. He speaks fluent Hebrew and Arabic and now Chinese. And he he said that in this book, it was a very interesting fact that if you want to show you're imperial and you're hosting a banquet, either private or public, you need to have food on the table from all parts of the empire. That's an interesting
Small parts of the
empire, of the Roman Empire.
of the Roman
So they
Empire.
have food from Germany, that have food from Spain,
wow.
that have food from North Africa,
Yeah.
that have food from the Middle East.
Yeah. So
And
you're
so-
saying was not just a small little Galilee town.
So
This was a metropolitan,
well,
not a
metropolitan is a
metropolitan,
good
but
word.
international.
Well, I would say it's tied into the Roman system. It's only 2 days by mule or donkey from here to Caesarea with the load of processed fish.
Yeah.
And then if you have good weather, it's a week from Caesarea to Rome.
Mm-hmm.
So that means this place isn't far away. It's like, okay, back in the days of the exploration of America, New York was very far away from San Francisco. But today it's a couple of hours flight. So I think that sometimes we project and that the antiquity was very retrograde in contrast to our very advanced society.
Mhm.
But actually, the problems and the situations might have been very similar.
Similar.
You know, the structures of society and the diversity of wealth. If you have commerce, most people will have something to eat. But a number of people will have very deep pockets that are overflowing.
Yeah.
And maybe this is an expression of that, or at least it's an expression of a very industrious, prosperous community that maybe is very thrifty, maybe not affluent, but prosperous. They're doing well, they're growing, and they're having priorities that they want to decorate their community synagogue in a very beautiful way with frescoes all around. It's completely frescoed. We have more evidence of that, and the mosaics. And meanwhile, to add more, more fuel to the fire here for the appreciation, this fourth rosette mosaic has been found. Of all the rosette mosaics in Israeli archaeology, Herod's Palace, High Priest's House, and the other two are here in Magdala, 150 yards away from here. Enough, for your football team to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
There's enough space to do that. Right over there where the other light is, that's where the other rosette is, just like this, and the same infinity pattern, and it's all around the room like the Pompeii rooms structure.
Can you speak about this before we move to our Kristallnacht
I
program?
would just like to say one other very important fact that's new. A year ago, and I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, across the street, across the main road at the Arbel Junction, the second synagogue of Magdala has been discovered. The same size as this one, without frescoes, mosaics, pillar stubs, and without, it just has one row of seats that are pronounced, but maybe you could interpret a second row that are much shallower than these. And it's the same size, and it's 163 yards from here.
Amazing.
So there was one for the Ashkenazis and one for the Sfaradis. Or maybe
Good. We wanted, before it gets too late, to do our part of the program.
Yes.
Can you speak about the stone?
So just get the camera down close.
Yes,
Well,
I
you
showed
can sit
them
down
earlier.
there. There we go.
Yeah, I
Okay.
showed them earlier the
Okay.
sign here of the
So-
menorah.
This is the oldest menorah. This is a copy. We have the original in the lobby. This is the oldest menorah ever found on stone. This whole stone is among the very top discoveries ever made in Israeli archaeology. It's on the level of the Dead Sea Scrolls in relation to the Second Temple. These statements are in accord with what the Reshut Atichot, the Antiquity Authority of Israel, is saying.
So especially because you're saying that this synagogue was functioning before the destruction of the
Exactly.
temple,
And this
which
menorah existed
means
then.
that the Arch of Titus depiction
Yes,
is later than this one.
it's about at least 15 years later, because the
15
third
years
closed
later.
down in 67, and the Titus Arch menorah dedication is in 82. So this is at least 15 years older, but probably 30, 40, 50 years older.
Yeah, the destruction of the
Maybe
temple
40
was
years
in
older.
70 AD, yeah?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
then, and the dedication of the Titus
Or
Arch was
CE.
82.
82, so 12 years later. Wow.
Okay. So then here we have the altar of incense underneath the menorah. And it's important to notice in our menorah that you have this triangular form, which is understood to be the the three legs underneath the menorah. And then we have two jars and two pillars. And in both first and second temples, there were two pillars with nicknames Boaz and Yachin.
Yeah.
And Boaz is obviously the founder of the house of David, the Boaz Ruth story. And then Yachin, we have two rabbis here, so I shouldn't be speaking, but I've heard that this means the creator of the universe. So it would be the structure of worship at the temple would be the house of David worshiping the God of the universe.
Yes, it's
but then
lechonen, and also to yachin will prepare.
Right. So then the other theory is that what I've heard, and I'm only just relating what I've heard, I'm not a scholar of these things, that there's a historical yachin, but I haven't been able, I've asked a bunch of people and I haven't been able to get anything really tangible and solid about that. And then on the top of the stone, we have this rosette design. The mosaic rosette is 8-piece. This is a 6-petal rosette. And then there are 6 on the periphery, making it a 12-petal. And that's the first time, this is the oldest version of this flower of life in a 12-petal format. And then this, according to Rina Talgam from Hebrew University, is the decoration supposed to be on the parochet, on the veil before the Holy of Holies. And then here we have the lechem hapanim, the showbread, and then the two sides have 2 rows of columns. So they're a colonnade on both sides. And then here you have an oil lamp. But archaeology is very much like medicine. It's an interpretative science. When you go to the doctor with the temperature, he says COVID, but if the temperature is there 3 weeks later, he has to check if it's an intestinal infection or maybe a cancer. And so they're trying to assess phenomena in medicine. It's not all set in stone. And even in archaeology, set in stone, it's difficult because the archaeologists dispute things. The most important part, I think, is this end of the stone. And here we have 2 arches, 2 wheels, and underneath flames of fire. So where would you find wheels with flames of fire in the Tanakh, in the Hebrew scriptures?
Elijah.
So the chariot of fire comes and he goes up in the whirlwind. And what is a chariot of fire? You go to Ezekiel and you have burning wheels leaving the temple and heading to the east. What's going on? The exile. And what's going on? Well, the book of Ezekiel is clearly that Hashem, the Almighty, is going with his people into exile. He's not just with us for the feast days and the song and the celebrations. He is with us in times of trouble. Of destruction. He goes with us into exile. He goes with us into the hospital, into surgery, into our tombs to raise us up for eternal life. So it's Emmanuel, Eamon with us.
God is with us.
Always.
For sure. We felt this tonight and always here. Thank you so much, Father Kelly. Really, thank you very much for your hospitality. And it really is incredible to be here. We want to do a few prayers for Kristallnacht. And then we have a special guest that I invited, a good friend of mine, Deganit Tabari. She's an amazing singer, and she's going to sing authentic Yemenite songs. The Yemenite language and is considered the most authentic pronunciation of the Hebrew, the most ancient. So we thought, how would first century Hebrew would sound here? And probably something like that. I don't know about women entering the synagogue. I'm not sure what their policy was back then, but I think it was pretty.
In the Gospels where there's a woman who couldn't look up, and she was healed in the synagogue. So
she couldn't look up.
I've seen a woman like this 2 weeks ago. It's so painful, and she's walking like this. She can't look up.
What does that mean to
she's
you?
Paralyzed. She's bent over.
Oh, so she was in the synagogue.
Well, she was healed in the synagogue. There was a crisis with the authorities that he was being healing.
Maybe a different section. They sat on different sides. We'll have to research that. But we'll say a few prayers, and then the Ganit will sing, and then we'll conclude with the Kaddish as we remember those who perished, of course, on Kristallnacht, in the Holocaust, and of course, in any Jewish tragedy and beyond. We do have Holocaust survivors here, and I just want to have you speak for maybe a couple minutes before we say the prayers, since you're here, and it's an amazing opportunity that you're here.
Okay, just hold
Yes,
on. I
of
can be
course.
introduced. Just we are children of Holocaust survivors. My parents were from Hungary and Czechoslovakia. They survived Auschwitz, and we moved to United States in 1970 after the Russians took over the area in 1946. And you are from your name?
Okay, I'm Eva Schulman, and also my parents came from Europe after the Holocaust. Basically, that's it.
Just
I'm Sarah Kirschenbaum, and I was a baby when the war broke out. And I was hidden by Christian people. And after a while, my mother picked me up from them because they were friends of the family. And we wound up in Kazakhstan. And we stayed there for the duration of the war. And after the war, we went back to Poland. And from Poland, we went to Austria, and I was in a DP camp there. And then I immigrated to America.
she's a child.
Just introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Regina Yohai, and I am a survivor, but was hidden during the war, the entire war, with my mother. My father perished, and my mother's whole family perished. And then in 1951, we came to the United States.
So as we heard here that, some people were saved by Christians, and we gave a whole series about a Second Vatican Council, how the church realized its part in maybe creating some of the anti-Semitic rhetoric that led to the Holocaust, and it did tshuva, return. And as we say that the rebuilding will come from the same source of the destruction, here too, we want to develop good relationship with Christians. We are, of course, Abrahamic, and we have the same goal at the end, to live peacefully on earth. So, and respect the same text. So we're going to do a Yizkor now. It's if anybody wants to follow us. What are mortals, eternal God, that you should be mindful of them? What are mortals, that you should take note of them? That you have made them little less than angels. Maybe please rise. The sound of infants attests to your power. The magnificence of life reflects your glory. The heavens display your splendor. What majesty is yours throughout the world. Teach us to use all of our days, that we may attain a heart of wisdom. Bless us with your love in the morning, that we may joyfully sing all our days. And we will say the exalted compassion in memory of the 6 million exalted, compassionate God. Grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the souls of our brethren who perished in the Shoah, men, women, and children of the house of Israel, who were slaughtered and suffocated and burnt to ashes. May their memory endure and inspire deeds of charity and goodness in our lives. May their souls thus be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Psalm 23. מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי לו אחסר, בינו דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי אשובר, נפשי אשובר, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלה בגיא צל מוות, לא ירא, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, נשענת ושמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God gives me repose in green meadows and guides me over calm waters. God will revive my spirit and direct me on the right path, for that is God's way. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are at my side. Your staff and your rod comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. And look where we are. We're back. Veshavti beveit Adonai. I shall dwell. But shavti in Hebrew is to return to. So we are returning to 2,000 years. That God was, even when we walk in the valley of the shadow of death, God was with us and brought us back here. This is an incredible moment that God ordained for us. Thank you very much. And let the Ganit sing.
Turn this away from being in a selfie mode so it's easier to
Yes. And then we'll conclude with the Kaddish afterward. It's just it. Lama? Yeah, you may be seated. It's unbelievable. I'm standing right here. I have my congregants here. And this is the bima. This is a 2,000-year-old synagogue. And I'm saying, please be seated. So the Ganit will sing Lecha Eli Teshukati. To you, God, is my passion. Yemenite communities sing it on Yom Kippur, and this is where we cry. This is the commandment to cry on Yom Kippur. Whoever sings this song on Yom Kippur cries. And the synagogue I grew up in, the Yemenite synagogue, the rabbi cried once a year. I didn't know why is he crying once a year. And when I grew up, I understood. He was singing the Ha'eli. So wherever you are, you are my passion.
Just checking if everything is working.
Are people still with us?
Yes, we are.
Basically, thank you. Basically, that's the Ammonite.
Yeah.
Kind of.
You can be
Strong
louder.
one.
You can be louder. So this song was about God is my passion and bring me back to you. Yeah, it's about Abraham's journey on a pilgrimage. So as pilgrims here, to succeed his way, to find a bride for Isaac. And this story is really about rebuilding because Isaac lost his mother and he needs a wife to take the place and to be comforted. And it says at the end, he loved Rebekah and he was comforted after the loss of his mother. And he brought her into Sarah's tent and brought back the light. So the Jewish story, and this is what we're here, it's the night of broken glass, but at the end, the light will come back to dwell in the menorah and to dwell in our sanctuary with God. The next song.
Mostly played in waves. That's all. You're allowed to come here.
And then the last song, and you can be louder. You can definitely be louder. And the last song is Ayelet Chen, Ayala Chen, Ayala Chen. What? Yes. Yes. Right. The Ayelet Chen is the morning joy that brings the Shekhinah. That's the Shekhinah that rises with dawn. So again, it's a new dawn. And every time we talk about destruction, we talk in the Jewish tradition, we talk about a new creation. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll conclude with the Kaddish. We'll do it after the Kaddish. So please rise. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דיברה שרותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילם עם כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen. I can't tell you how important and unique and amazing this moment has been. And it just shows us that God's providence is with us. So we had the a solemn moment. We had an enjoyable moment. And this is basically when we commemorate destruction, we have to commemorate hope as well. And this is the hope that you're here, and what God just ordained for us today is the hope. And thank you very much, Father Kelly, too, for excavating an important relic that will become the resurrection. The resurrection will come from that relic. Amen. Thank you very much, everybody that joined us here and at home. And see you back in New York.